Hello everyone, welcome back to... where's your COVID test? You need a COVID test to play tonight. But you need a COVID test. Mine's right here. So, anyway, that was the story of tonight, as the Russians did not show their COVID tests on time to the Canadians, and the Canadians refused to play until the Russians were to sort of give out their COVID results. And they ended up not having to do that. So what ended up happening was both teams had to wear masks throughout the first few periods of the game. Russia, however, did not wear it in the third, so I'm not entirely sure if they got the results. It wasn't announced, so I'm not overly sure. I'm sure something happened in the background where the Canadians still wore their masks because they are afraid of the 2-week quarantine after the fact. They don't want to be stuck in China for the 2 weeks after, where they want to go home, see their families again. So it was sort of an important note for women's hockey, especially because they hadn't really witnessed that before. Obviously, Russia has had some COVID issues in the past. So it is going to be very curious to see what transpires there, if there's any discipline for that, or if something else is going to come of that. Most likely not, and we'll get right on into it now, starting with day 5 results. So starting off, we have that game, despite it being delayed an hour and a half, give or take that. It was a 6-1 victory for the Canadians, so it was worth it for the late stayers for Canada to stay up for the game. It was very late by the time the game finished, but 6-1, well worth the wait. And they really just dominated the entire game. Canada never really shook up after it. They dominated from start to finish, and of course 6-1 result the final. Definitely could have been a lot more. Both goalies from Russia, they did have goaltender change, was extremely huge for them and kind of kept the score at bay in the long run. But then we'll take a look at the game 2, and this is where the start of the upsets have begun, as today was a day full of upsets. We have Denmark against the Czech. So Denmark did pull off the victory, despite everyone, including myself, saying that they had no shot. Denmark did win 3-2 over the Czech Republic, and overall, but the Czechs didn't really need the game that much. But in the end, they did sort of need it because they needed it for positioning, but they needed more for China to lose. And they also lose that sort of first spot guarantee, but they are still going to have to play Japan for it coming up tonight. And then Sweden versus China was the other upset, or one of the few upsets for that matter, as Sweden did beat China 2-1. It wasn't a great upset like Denmark over Czechs, but it was definitely an upset. I mean, most teams, especially with Sweden coming down from the bottom, they did need the regulation win, as an overtime win most likely would have knocked them out. But in the long run, it did end up for the better for China and Sweden, rather. But overall, it is very interesting to see how Sweden can continue, because it is going to come down to the final game for the entire Group B in terms of the quarterfinals. So it is going to be a great day tomorrow. And moving on to Switzerland against Finland. Once again, another upset with the Swiss beating the Finns 3-2. And this was another game where Switzerland dominated play. Like, it's sort of the first time where we've really seen what Switzerland's capable of, led by Lena Müller and Lara Stadler. Really sort of just took the game from the start and just held Finland at bay, sort of contained the monster for now. But we will see whether or not Russia can do the same, as it is going to determine what the results are of sort of the quarterfinals, where everybody gets seated. We'll take a look at that right now with the Group A standings. So with Group A, we got USA, Canada playing for the top spot tonight. So that is going to be a great game, a gold medal tune-up at that. So I definitely do recommend, if you are going to watch one game, this is the game. It's at 11:10 p.m., but we will get to that in a few minutes here. And then the other three is between Russia with 3 points, Switzerland with 3 points, and Finland with 0 points. So, and this is where it gets fun. So if Finland beats Russia by 2 goals or more, they will move into the third spot and play the top from Group B. If Russia either wins or loses by only 1 goal, or loses in overtime, they will move into the top spot there. In Switzerland, because of the head-to-head against Russia, will not. Switzerland will play the Finns. Russia will play Group A, and then Group B, and then the top of USA and Canada both will play the bottom. So it'll be between China, Denmark, and Sweden. And then we look at Group B, so depending on who wins this game between the Japan and Czechs, will determine whether or not they will play the third seed in Group A. So this is a lot of variables right now, depending on who comes and who goes. So it's going to be very interesting to see what transpires there, because obviously there are a few teams that should, in theory, be there, especially because Japan and Czechs are going to play. Denmark and Sweden both play. So if Sweden wins in any capacity, they will move into the third spot, we'll have to play the top seed of either Canada or the US, depending on who wins their game. If Denmark wins in regulation, they will move into the third spot. And if China, the only way China will get in is if Denmark beats Sweden in overtime or a shootout. So it'll be very interesting to see if Denmark and Sweden are tied, whether or not they will have to pull their goalie, because obviously a tie or an overtime win isn't going to help them in the long run. So we may see an empty net clincher for Sweden at a tie, and I am very much looking forward to seeing that, because it is going to be an absolute joy to see, because and really this is sort of how it comes down to on the last day. Everyone vying for their spots. And the tie, or the quote-unquote tie of overtime, isn't going to help them at all. So it is going to be very curious to see what their strategy is going in, whether or not they do end up pulling the goalie, and if Sweden is going to allow them to pull the goalie. And there's all these sort of variables that go into this sort of decision making, and it is going to make for a very fun day, or a very last fun day of preliminary action. So taking a look at the final day of preliminary action, we have started off at 11:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the U.S. versus Canada. Once again, the gold medal tune-up for sure. I would be surprised if any of these other teams, depending on how really how we've seen them, are going to have a shot at Canada, unless, of course, Russia did forge their test results. But with that being said, Canada-US, great game tonight at 11:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then we move on to the Group B top, with Japan against the Czech Republic coming in at 3:40 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And finally with Russia-Finland at 8:10. So remember, that's going to determine who comes in Group A. And finally Denmark-Sweden at 8:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, coming in with the bottom of Group B. So definitely quite a few exciting things happening on today, tomorrow, time zones, I don't know. But it is going to be a very fun day coming in. So definitely stay tuned. And once again, for the news, you got your COVID calamity, fun times in Canada and Russia. And then you got the Czechs clinching. So they clinch automatically because China can't knock them out anymore, because China has played all their games. So it is going to be very curious to see what happens there. And then the quarterfinal craziness coming up very soon. So we will have full highlights and stuff coming up tomorrow. Be sure to check it out. But if you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. If you'd like to drop a like, if you really like to, consider subscribing. Tell all your friends to leave a comment down below your thoughts on Day 5 of the Women's Olympic Hockey event. Until next time, see ya.